This program was first broadcast on Canterbury's community access radio station Plains FM 96.9 and was made with the assistance of New Zealand On Air.
Coming up next on Plains FM is Find Your Bliss.
Good morning, Bliss lovers. It is Rebecca Davison here, intuition coach and founder of the Intuitive Life Academy. Welcome to the Find Your Bliss show here on Plains FM, where we broadcast live from the studio every 9 o'clock on a Thursday morning, and we talk about all things spiritual, psychic, metaphysical, esoteric, and all based and centered around your intuition and how to create a life that you really love. So my apologies, folks, this morning to those on Facebook. For some reason, my phone has gone on the blink, so I'm not able to broadcast live from the studio. But I hope you're with me in spirit, because today we're actually talking about energy tools that you can use for your children. And working with children and energy is so much fun because children are naturally very open. And this is why when we have children, of course, it takes us into those energies of pure innocence, pure radiance, pure light. When we have a baby, of course, is beyond ego because the baby has just arrived. It is a tabula rasa, a blank slate. And, that baby has come into a body, a soul that's come into a body to have a earthbound experience. And when we work with children in energy, I truly believe that this is the way of the future in terms of helping children to understand how powerful they are, to create deeper levels of autonomy for children, and for children to be able to know and trust themselves. Often what happens when I'm working with clients is on numerous occasions I will work with people and they will say things like, oh yeah, when I was younger, I was really intuitive. Or when I was younger, I could really manifest easily. Or when I was younger, I could see angels and guides, or I could see fairies, or I could see, my imaginary friends, right? So we want to be in that space where we never want to shut children down. Inevitably, being on the earth plane, children are going to experience contraction when it comes to knowing what shame and guilt is. As a human being, you're going to experience contrast. That's part of the deal. Contrast in the form of resistance, challenge, difficulties, hurt, suffering, etc. It's pretty much impossible. But if you are aware as a parent, you can minimize it, and you can help your children to develop a skill set where they are able to navigate through life choosing love over fear. And so one of the first and foremost and most important things, which is a prerequisite for really helping children with their intuitive and energetic skills and gifts, is to be a person, obviously, who's interested in that, but who will extend themselves. So learning how energy works, learning that we are all oscillating fields of energy, and to be able to help your children. And really when it comes to children, one of the best things you can do for your children is activate their imagination, which is why reading to children is so important. Because, of course, what happens is when you're reading to a child, that child has the opportunity to receive the information, but they're activating their imagination. And now, if you've ever been read to as a child, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Because one of the books I was read to was The Folk of the Faraway Tree. And what you're doing is you're activating your imagination as you're listening to the story. Now, why is this so important when it comes to intuition? Because your imagination is your imagination is the gateway to your intuition. So we want to encourage and develop this in children. Now, what happens, of course, is when children are born, they're in a different brain frequency. For a predominant, from 0 to 7 especially, they're in usually theta brain states, although we move through those brain state frequencies. And essentially, our brain frequency becomes higher when we get into normal alpha and beta states as well. So we want to be able to help children to learn how to navigate that, and often to a really precious time is between 7 to 10. Why? Because children are moving away from their parents. They're starting to form their own identity. They're starting to form an ego. And of course, the ego is because they're changing brain frequency, of course. So they're also becoming more aware of who they are as a human. Now, of course, moving into puberty, of course, that becomes intensified, as every parent will be able to testify to, when hormones are starting to kick in around puberty, and children around, 12 to 15, 16, they're really going through that phase of who am I? Who am I in this world? What is my identity? And, starting to bring up some of those deeper questions. I remember when I was like 13 thinking, why is a fork called a fork for like half an hour? You're really in you're really in some interesting awarenesses as you're going through these stages and ages. However, please do not underestimate that just because a child is a child, that they are not psychically and intuitively aware. We talk a lot these days, there's a greater level of awareness around the first 1,000 days, so the first 3 years of a child's life. Super important in terms of developing their personality. We want to look at the energetic soup in our home. The best thing you can do for your children is to choose your own happiness and to know yourself deeply so you can be present to them. If you've got stuff going on for yourself, it is going to be difficult for your children to feel seen, heard, witnessed and received by you, which is probably the greatest thing that they need from you. To receive their tantrum or to receive their desire or need for love and connection, to be received. So let's talk about some of the things that you can actually do with your children, and depending on what age they are. However, these are still relevant to being an adult. These are still going to work for you as an adult, but they're more kind of orientated towards children. So, and again, often too, you have to realize that what children need, buying into that idea, right, that children really need your loving presence. But this will be a great opportunity to develop more intimacy with your own children, to develop a greater connection. So one of the first things is to really work with something that's childlike, which is rainbows, okay? And how this can work really easily and effectively. If you've got a child that is distressed, upset, out of sorts, just like adults, children get ungrounded. Just like adults, children are affected by the energy around them and their environment. So this is a really cute, simple process, which is really about helping them to come into alignment with their chakras, their energy centers in the different parts of their bodies. But of course, children can relate to a rainbow. A rainbow is fun, it's bright, it has all the colours of the spectrum, which is actually what we're working with. In this circumstance, we're working with colour. Colour is frequency. So this is very easy for children to adopt rather than a highbrow explanation of energy. They can easily connect to all the colours of the rainbow. So if you have a child that is distressed, etc., a really simple energy trick that you can do with them, or tool as such, is to, sit or stand and allow them to allow the colours of the rainbow to move into their body. Now, how this might look, you might guide them through this, is just ask them to, be still, use their imagination to see the colour red, right, going into their root chakra. Again and again, when you're actually working with colours and frequencies, a lot of people are like, okay, the 7 chakras in the body related to the 7 rays in the rainbow. I don't always necessarily adhere to that. I think you can take any colour anywhere. But if you're wanting to work in that structure, right, that the rainbow is connected to the body, you would send red into the root chakra because that's usually what it's associated with. So red, of course, which is about, the root chakra, of course, is about feeling safe, feeling connected, that it's okay to be here on the earth plane. So allowing your child to send the colour red into the root chakra, and then you would start moving up. So Richard of York gave battle in vain. That's how I remember it from school. Roy G. Bev, is that right? So then, of course, the next colour is orange, which would go into their belly, right, just below their belly button. And again, you can allow a child to use their imagination and just walk them through it by saying, allow yourself to be filled up with the colour orange in your belly, thinking of a juicy orange, feeling of that colour moving into your belly, bringing you the energy of comfort, that it's safe for you to be you. Again, your words are so powerful when you're working with children. So powerful. One of the best things you can do as an adult is to start doing a word audit or even a thought audit of what your words and thoughts are when you're around your children, or even when you're not. What is the energetic vibration of your home? Be aware of what you bring. Your children can contribute to this. We will go and unpack that a little bit further. So next, of course, you would be moving into your solar plexus and thinking of the colour yellow, which is really powerful for children in terms of feeling safe to go out there. The solar plexus, of course, is our power centre in terms of I can step out into the world and feel safe to shine my light. So you want to see a child that's crestfallen. They've probably been energetically punched in the solar plexus, right? They've doubled over onto themselves. They've crumpled. So we want to expand that back out again. Another really simple tip that I use with adults, right, is to imagine that you've swallowed the sun and that you've placed it in your solar plexus. When you see children open up in their energy field, just get them to do that. If they're distressed, if they're upset, if something's gone wrong, if they're doubting themselves, just say to them, swallow the sun, right? Take that sunshine into your belly, let it open up your body, your posture, your belly. Imagine that there's light coming out of your body. These are very much aligned with energetic principles, right? Where is your light? It resides inside of you. By even doing this, you're helping a child to focus on the fact that it's inside of them. It's not something that comes externally, and that they have control over it through their power and attention and focus. So helping children to realize that they always have something that they can do or choose, which is so important, especially as they start to go through their teenage years, their puberty, and they're starting to experience all those hormones that are starting to race around their body. To have these things instilled at a younger age is so powerful in terms of helping them to navigate. If they're in a circumstance as a teenager and it's already in their subconscious that, hey, I can actually bring more light to this situation, I can activate my power by seeing that light coming out of my body, which is going to help me expand my energy fields and open up, make sure I'm connected to my intuition. If it's already there from when they're a child, then they can activate it when they're a teenager, when they need it, right? When they're in those circumstances where, something serious is coming up. Is somebody getting into a car with somebody who's been drinking? If they activate that light within them, they have a better chance of making a better choice. So starting to do these really simple things. Of course, with the rainbow, this would be probably appropriate for younger children, but again, any age, it's still effective. So then you would move up into the chest, and of course, the heart chakra is green, often associated with pink as well, but allowing the colour green to pour into their chest. Imagine that they're playing with paint even, that the colour of the paint is moving in. Of course, then it moves into blue, sky blue for the throat, indigo blue in the forehead, and of course the crown is violet or purple. So if you've got a child that's out of sorts, because remember, colour is frequency. Bumblebees are pretty much blind, but they will always go for the lavender or the blue flowers because they have a higher frequency. So don't underestimate this, because it's easy for us to go into places where we're like, oh, this is phooey, right? Or this is just made up. No, if you actually break it down on an energetic level, it is totally true, right? Every colour has a frequency. That's why working with colour can be so powerful, and especially for children, it's easy, it's accessible. They're already working with a lot of colour in their world anyway, right? Children often have, though, when they're a baby, you have those soothing pastels, but when they're a little bit older, it is more, it is more primary, right? Bright yellow, bright red, bright blue, bright green. These are the things that are appealing to a child's imagination. So going through that process, and I can guarantee a couple of things are going to occur. Excuse me. If you are the person who is facilitating this for your child, they are going to feel soothed. A, because you're working with energy and frequency and you're bringing in the colours that they need to help them feel balanced. B, they are receiving your loving attention. They are receiving from you, which is what they need on a very primal, fundamental level, to know that you are there for them. But C, you're also showing them that they can create this for themselves. In a way, you're being their facilitator at this moment rather than just a parent. And that is hugely powerful, because what you're demonstrating to your children is you can do this. You can help shift your own mood. You can help regulate your own emotions. You can help regulate your own energy. Super, super powerful stuff. So number one, again, depending on the age of the child, it's probably going to appeal to children who are, probably 4, 5, 6, 7 in regards to doing that. But again, you can still use this for teenagers, doing the rainbow technique and allowing all the colours of the rainbow to move into their body. Swallowing the sun, like I said, that's very effective, especially if somebody is feeling like, if your kids have got to do a speech, if they're feeling self-conscious, if they're an introvert, this is really powerful in terms of going, okay, sorry folks, excuse me, they've got to do something where they have to lead from their power center, where they have to be seen. Swallowing the sun is really, really powerful. Okay, so let's move on to some more. And one thing that came up when I was kind of tuning into the energy of the radio show today was, if your children have imaginary friends, please don't make this wrong, and don't go into alarm. Babies and cats, it's well known, can see spirit. Okay, so they can see beyond the third world or the 3D, right? So they can see other energies. So please don't make your kids wrong about this. If they've got an imaginary friend, it could just be an angel, or it could be an energy that they have called in because on some level they are seeking comfort. Why would anybody bring in an imaginary friend? Perhaps because they feel a little lonely, perhaps because of the family circumstance. They might be the youngest child, they might be the only child. So, maybe the older kids have gone to school, and maybe that child's there at home by themselves. So they're just seeking that comfort of having someone around. So don't even make your kids wrong if they have an imaginary friend. Ask your child questions about it. And also too, right, don't be careful that you're not in the energy of disbelief, because your kids will pick that up, and it will create a little bit of dissonance between you. So ask your child about their imaginary friend with complete belief, right? My child can see this, and this is often what happens, right? Children will say that they see something or they feel something, and parents, because they can't see it, will turn it down or shut it off. It will scare them sometimes that their children have supernatural abilities that they don't. So they will often say, no, that's not true, or there's nothing there, or you can't see that. And this is how children end up shutting and turning off their intuition. So allow it to be okay. Right? What is it okay? Realizing, right, your children might actually have skills and talents that you don't. What does it take just because you're older than them that you let go of anywhere you don't think that your children don't have authority? They do. You want to maintain their openness. And instead of shutting off, which is often what happens, you want to allow them to be in that space where they continue to tune in and are aware. All right, that they can continue to tune in and keep them open no matter what. So telling them that their imaginary friend isn't real isn't going to help. And this is a clever thing to do though. If you're asking them questions about their imaginary friend, ask them about the qualities of their imaginary friend. Say it's Mikey or something. What does Mikey wear? What does he do? What's he like? What are his characters? What does he value? Ask them that, right? Because that will give you information. So then, of course, again, because you never want to make your children wrong about things like that, but you want to maybe start making some loose associations so your children can start identifying that those qualities can be found on the earth plane in other people. Again, this is not for the purpose of pulling them away from their imaginary friend, but it's just helping them to make the connection that other people have those qualities that they're looking for in their imaginary friend, right? So it can help them feel safer about being here on the earth plane. You know, one things that I think is really beneficial often for children is getting craniosacral or having an osteopathy session just after they've been born, not just for the purpose of straightening out their spine, etc., or helping them to, get okay with being in a body, but it is really to help their soul to calibrate being on the earth plane. You know, I don't know if you've seen any of those memes, right? And again, once upon a time, I didn't believe in reincarnation, and now I've had so many circumstances where I'm like, oh, that's a thing for real. So when children reincarnate into a body, you know, sometimes when the soul comes into the body, it doesn't always come in. A lot of people say that the soul comes into the body when the heart starts beating. Doesn't always happen like that. I know for myself, I came in pretty late, and my mum's labour was very quick. It was 3 hours from start to finish. Impatience has definitely been an ongoing theme in my life. So recognising that, right? Like the soul can come into the body late, help your baby and your baby's soul adjust to being on the earth plane, because sometimes it can be a little bit shocking, right? For babies to be like, oh my goodness, I'm back in this human dimension, having this human experience again. So doing something like that can just really help your baby and their soul adjust to being back on the earth plane, right? You want to think of your baby as, you know, body, mind, and spirit. You know, maybe their mind when they're born, but you think about it, it's still absorbing everything. They're like a little sponge. They absorb the energy that is in your home. If you're having an argument with your partner, right, they will absorb the energy of that. It will be registered in their psyche on some level. Now, please, as a parent, please let go of beating yourself up or making yourself feel guilty. That does not serve your children. You are doing the best you can. You are human. You want to be in that space of, even if your baby's like 2 years old, just apologize if stuff doesn't work out, right? If you get angry, if you lose it at your kids, just do what any other normal human would do and go, I'm really sorry, right? I lost my temper. Treat your children like the sentient beings that they are, and they will have greater empathy and compassion for you if you do. You want to see the light in children and also honor it. Right, you see them as a limitless being in a body as soon as they arrive. I think what happens often too is, children challenge us on so many different levels. You know, as the expression goes, from the mouths of babes. You want to listen to the wisdom of children. I know so many people, and they laugh at their children often, not at them, but, you know, at themselves, because their children will turn around and give them intuitive wisdom and guidance, because their kids can see it. You know, they can see what mum and dad are doing. They can see where mum and dad are in denial because they're coming from a different perspective. Listen to that. You know, be open to that. Be the person who can go, actually, there is so much that I can learn from my children that I'm not probably allowing at the moment because I'm too reinforced into the identity of being a parent, as a recognizing that this child has come through as part of my soul tribe. So they're here to teach me just as much as I am here to teach them. Very good attitude. Okay, so when it comes to imaginary friends, don't make it wrong. Help your child to identify the qualities because they're qualities that their imaginary friend has will be something that they're looking for. Right, whether it's attention, affection, support, consistency, whatever it is, help your child to identify that other people on the earth plane have those qualities as well, to help your child feel integrated and safe. And also too, think about it, when children have an imaginary friend, that imaginary friend doesn't really have an ego. In my experience, working with children who, you know, have an imaginary friend, the imaginary friend isn't really mean or cruel or bossy to them, right? They are usually supportive, helpful, you know, And again, children can see things that we can't see, like angels and guides. If you've ever seen a cat and it's looking like it can see something in the room, it can, right? If you've ever seen a baby and it's almost like the baby's looking behind your shoulder, or a toddler and they're just staring at something off in space, it's probably because they can see something that you can't. Make that okay. Don't make it wrong. Don't shut it down with fear. Okay, so a really simple thing that you can teach your children to do, which is really, really powerful, is to help them to understand that if other children are mean or unkind, that they, they're in a place of contraction. Naturally speaking, everybody would choose to be happy. So if a child, if your children are at school and they're coming up against another child, there's always a couple of things you want to look out for too, right? If a child's unhappy, what's going on with their parents, right? The kid's parents, right? And what's going on with the child, of course. So really being in that space of helping children to realize that if somebody's being mean to them, that there is some kind of contraction going on in the person who is being mean. So one thing that's really powerful to do, to get your children to do, is to explain that to them, right? That person is obviously going through a tough time right now, and that's why they're being unkind. And instead of going into contraction yourself, what you want to do is stay in the energy of love, and you can send blessings to that person. Now, as the adult, the parent, what you want to do, right, is send blessings to that child as well, but also to their parents. Because children pick up on the energy in the home, and as you know, more often than not, they will go to school, they will go to college, and they will act out. Because they're a sponge, and if that sponge is too full, some of that energy's got to come out, and often it will come out as being unkind or vicious. If you've got parents who are fighting, if there's dissonance in the home, the child will be impacted by that. And this is not rocket science, we know this, but we need to respond with compassion. If you go, and often what will happen is where children get into a circumstance where they're being picked on, it is so important how you as the parent respond to that, right? Because if it brings up all your wounding, you will start projecting onto the child. So you want to be very aware if your child comes to you in a state of distress, if you are getting triggered, right? If you are going into defensiveness, if you are going into, it's us against them, right? This is a wonderful way that our children can help us to heal our wounds, is by going, oh my goodness, right? Like, I'm scared that my child's being picked on. Are you going into fear, or can you go into compassion? Right? Can you go into that place of like, something's going wrong for that child, so therefore we need to send that child some compassion. And this is the difference between duality, which is that us versus them mentality, versus oneness, which is we can rise above this and we can be compassionate and send that other person. Now, if you have got wounding of your own, if you have got a low self-esteem and therefore you see this occurring for your child, more likely than not, you will get triggered, right? It will bring your stuff up immediately. And you want to take some time to just take a space, right? To go, actually, I need a moment. I need some time to kind of go, wow, is this bringing up something within me? Excuse me. Is this bringing up something within me that needs to be addressed? Take responsibility for that as the parent. Your children push your buttons all the time. Your job is to bless your own kids and say, thank you so much, kiddo, for showing me what's looking to be healed within myself. They will do it inadvertently. They will do it without you, whether they're even aware of it or not. Your children will show you your stuff like nobody else. The beauty of the relationship is they agreed to that before they even got here. You're, as a child, as a soul, you choose your parents. So, if you have children, be grateful that they chose you. Okay, I don't have children myself, but obviously I have been a child and I've had plenty of children in other past lives. So knowing what really works, and again, you want to honour the divine within them. You want to acknowledge that. You want to appreciate that. Yes, you're the caretaker, but you are the container to help your children feel safe, to help them grow into greater levels of autonomy, but to also see them as an equal right from the get-go. Just because they're a child does not mean that they don't have equality. And this is very, this will make the transition when they're a teenager moving into adulthood so much easier. If you can see them as your equal right from the get-go, the transition, and as a teenager moving into an adult, they can move from being your child into being your friend so much more easily. And you want that, right? Because you don't want your children to get to 18, 19, 20 and then be out of there and be like, I don't want to go home, right? You want your kid to be like, hey, you know what? You were a great parent and now you're an awesome friend. And I choose to hang out with you. I want to spend time with you. I like you because your parents have seen you as an equal. Alrighty, so we've got some rainbow tips. We have got some swallowing the sun. We've got don't shut your kids down when it comes to their imaginary friends. Don't shut your children down intuitively anyway. I think what happens sometimes is, we talk about starseeds, etc., like children who come in and they're holding a different frequency. Sometimes that can freak people out, namely the kids too, right? Because they're like, this earth plane feels uncomfortable to me. Like the vibration on this planet is low and I've come in to help raise the vibration. Celebrate your children and their soul level as well. Go and get your kids an energy clearing right from the get-go. Children respond to that stuff so quickly. Children can shift energy so quickly as well because they don't have those layers and layers and layers of patterns of imprints that we often do by the time we're adults. Okay, so number one energy tool, right? Teach your children how to manifest. Teach your children how to create. Ask, believe, receive. Or in my world, it's ask, believe, take some action, and then receive. You want to get your kids to be why? Because not only does this knock into being an entrepreneur kind of early, but you want to get your children into the energy of, I can create what it is that I want, right? I am a limitless being in a body. So if they want to create something, then make a plan with them. You are an adult. You know what it is to go out and create something. You have already done that in your life by getting a job or creating money or creating something that you love. Teach your children how to do the same. So again, this is activating their self-belief. So when they're a child and they want a bicycle, you're like, okay, well, let's make a plan on how we're going to do that. What are you going to do, right? And ask them to start using their intuition, right? What is an idea or a feeling or an inspiration that we can work with to help this bring about? When children manifest too, like often it freaks their parents out because they're like, oh my God, I can't believe my kid did that, right? I can't believe my children are better at manifesting than I am. Make that okay, right? When the child goes, look, and you've come up with the idea to do a lemonade stand or something, right? To start raising money. And the kid's like, hey, no, I'm 500 steps ahead of you because you know what? I put it out there and somebody said, hey, do you want this bike? Make it okay, right? That your kids can move fast, that they are creators, that they are powerful. Let them lead in regards to their own intuition because I can guarantee it is open, they're connected, they get this stuff, they know how to do it. So get your children to start doing that early. There's never, they're never too young to help teach them how to manifest what it is that they want. And again, if they can keep that open, then they're going to step into doing what they love because they're not going to feel limited. They're going to trust themselves and their own intuition to be able to go out and create what they want. So they're not going to end up in a job that they hate and then going, oh my goodness, is this life? Because they're like, no, I know how to create stuff. I know how to go out and create money, create wealth, create prosperity by doing something that I enjoy or love because you've already trained them to think that way. Okay, super powerful. Don't wait until they're 18, 19, 20 and then have the conversation about, okay, so what are you going to do? It's too much pressure. If you get to that point and they're not sure, you want to start as early as you can with your children in regards to helping them to create what they want. They have way more power than you're probably giving them credit for. Help them to start activating it now, right? Learn what it takes for yourself to manifest, and then you'll teach your children the same. For adults, it can be a lot harder because we have to let go of our limiting beliefs to allow it to show up. Whereas children don't often have that. They're not sitting there going, oh, I can't have that because it has too much of a value proposition. The kids are going, shall I have the Ferrari or the Maserati? Whereas parents are going, oh my goodness, I don't value myself enough because of everything I've listened to, that voice in my head that I've listened to, which has created this set of beliefs which isn't serving me. So, step your children into their creator ability as soon as possible. Talk to them about what it takes to create stuff so they'll be able to hit the ground running. Because you think about it, the education, the study, whatever it is, that's one thing. But if your children have the skill set to know how to make things happen, they can apply that to anything, whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it's being at university, whether it's being at school. Cultivate that daily outside of school. Don't allow the school or the education system to lead when it comes to your children being creators, right? School and our education are a little bit prehistoric, really, in terms of even working with energy. They're only just starting now to bring in meditation into schools instead of detention, which is all about keeping your energy open versus keeping your energy contracted. You think about it, detention's based on shame. Meditation is based on stillness and listening to spirit. So a very different approach. So teach your children now, what does it take to be a manifester? What are we going to create? What is it that you want? Let's go about creating it. Create a plan with them. Ask them to listen to their intuition. What do you think is a good idea? How do you know that it's intuition? They'll feel it in their body, right? Their body will prompt them. They'll have an idea, they'll have an experience, something will come through. Get them working with their angels and guides now so they feel safe, so they can talk to their angels and guides in moments of contraction when they're feeling separate, when they're feeling, that they've been judged or ridiculed by other kids. Get them set up so they know that they have a support team around them at every single step in the process. Can you imagine being, because I didn't have that experience, but can you imagine being 14, 15 years old and knowing that your angels and guides are around you, which mine definitely were at those ages in terms of keeping me safe, but to know that they're there on a conscious level, that you can ask for support from the universe, that you can ask for help. Really important. Okay, so what else have I got on my list here? Oh yeah, so gratitude, right? And heart-centered living. And this is so fun because when everybody, and again, I had a client who started doing this. She's got 4 beautiful daughters, but what she started doing with her girls is she started taking time in the morning to set herself up for the day. So she would sit down and do some journaling. Now, can you imagine with 4 children how easy that is? Not very. But she persisted, right? She changed the pattern. So now when she gets up to do her journaling, to get herself in a good frame of energy, her daughters do the same thing. They pull out their journals and they express words of appreciation and they keep themselves in their heart center by focusing on it. So being the person who's going to help cultivate that in your own children. I think this is one key thing that is huge. And Princess Diana was actually pretty good at this, right? She took her children to hospitals or to where people were underprivileged, right? And she helped them to realize how privileged they were and how important it is to have compassion and empathy and how important it is to be grateful for what you have. And I think a lot of people would say in this day and age, because they haven't paid attention or because they haven't instilled those values into their children, that they sometimes feel like children are spoilt or that their children have a sense of entitlement. Now, those children just don't know any different, right? If they've grown up in an environment where, and again, this is across the board, right? This isn't just for children who are wealthier. Children who are not wealthy as well also want to learn the principles of gratitude. Why? Because as energetic frequency, it's all about expansion. If you have a child who doesn't have a lot, but they know how to practice their principles of gratitude, which is often the case, right? That they will be really grateful, then they'll receive more. Appreciation means to create more. So when we appreciate what life has to offer us, we can stay in those heart-centered frequencies. Life will bring us more. And this is how we can teach our children, no matter what our financial background is, to be able to create a sense of abundance for themselves. Abundance is always connected to gratitude. You have to be grateful for what you have to be able to create more of it. So instilling that. And how do we do this? Well, you can do it around the kitchen table, right? I know a lot of people who do this at dinner time. They sit there and they say, what was great about today? You know, I remember listening to a podcast once, and the dad around the dinner table said, what did you fail at today? And he would be upset if his children couldn't tell him what they had failed at, because what he wanted them to instill in them is that they needed to extend themselves out of their comfort zone. So starting to think a little differently in regards to perhaps how you're showing up around your kids. Don't take your children for granted, right? Don't see them just as extra humans in the house, right? They are soul beings in a body. They are picking up what you say, what you do, your attitudes, your beliefs, your behaviors. If you can help them to focus on gratitude now, they will keep that. It will be stored in their subconscious. So when they are older, they will have a better quality of life because they will be grateful for it. They will be grateful for what is showing up. You are literally programming their subconscious mind to happiness by focusing on gratitude. You know, they've done studies that if you focus on gratitude, it increases your happiness by like 25% over a period of 2 weeks. So starting to put those kind of family rituals in place. Of course, in the States, they have Thanksgiving where they go around and express appreciation. But you want to do this on a daily basis. Why? Do you want people in your family to be happy? Do you want them to be able to move through their issues quicker? Absolutely. And the way you can do this is by coming back to gratitude, which comes back again to even doing the blessings, blessing other people and saying, I love and bless that person who's in serious pain right now because they're showing up as a bit of a jerk, right? I can send them love and blessings because I'm grateful that I'm not the one having that. You know, and this is how people and children need to learn how to stay in their own energy. And this is huge for, especially for women. I think women probably do more people pleasing than men do. But as little girls, we can want to pick up the energy, fix, heal, and solve other people. And then we go into those people pleasing dynamics, and then we end up frustrated and resentful and defensive. So instead of doing that, what does it take to teach your children how to maintain their own center and not pick up energy for other people, right? Teach your children to keep their heart open, but they don't have to go into somebody else's sadness. They don't have to go into somebody else's contraction. They don't have to go into somebody else's depletion. You can encourage and teach your children how to send love, how to send light, how to bless other people, and how to go ahead and be a good person by taking action and doing things that can be supportive without picking up other people's energy. This is massive, especially for children, because children are really open. You know, give you an example. Two children sitting at school. One child was bright and sunny and open, and the other one's a bit contracted and cloudy and miserable. You can guarantee that that child that's open, if they don't know how to manage their energy, is going to end up being impacted by that other child. You know, and often in circumstances, the teacher will put them next to each other because they can see one kid is contracted and the other one's more expanded. So they're wanting to balance the child that's more contracted out. But it doesn't work like that if the child who's more expanded doesn't realize, because what they'll do is they'll end up giving their light away. You know, they'll end up, and again, be aware. Like if your children are usually bright and sunny and happy, and then all of a sudden it looks like the clouds have come over and it's happening on a consistent basis, start asking questions about who is in their environment. You know, who are they spending time with? What are they like? You can glean a lot of information from asking questions and listening intuitively. You know, they might give you wee snippets of information. Feel into the energy. If you've got like a teenage daughter or son and they start hanging out with somebody and the energy starts getting a little bit dark, you know, you want to be aware of that psychically in case there's like drugs and alcohol involved. because drugs and alcohol definitely contribute to cloudier energy, right? It brings a few clouds in. The vibration becomes lower. If your children are starting to turn up and they're been drinking or smoking, etc., you're going to be able to see it in their energy if you have awareness. If you are tuned in, you will know immediately what is going on. You'll be able to feel it and you'll be able to speak to it directly. You don't want to allow that stuff because often what can happen, right, is kids can be really good at hiding that kind of stuff. And then by the time you actually really go into that greater level of awareness, you will have missed it, or it will be an energy that's kind of it's happened on a repeated basis, so they're continuing to choose it rather than actually question that choice. They're just showing up in the energy of it. So starting to use your awareness in regards to how to keep your children safe. Everything is energy. You'll be able to feel, if you're aware, if you're focusing your attention, if you're open, if you can see it, if you're taking the time to see it, that is, by being aware. How do you do this? You can sit down at your dinner table and just tune into the energy of your children and go, what's going on for them? Are they happy? Because how children can tell you one thing, but energetically you can definitely, they're so open, they don't really hide it from you. You can see what's going on. You can see if they've created some defense mechanisms where they're like, I'm not going to let you in. I'm not going to tell you what's really going on. And also, too, that can be a really frightening time as a parent because it's like, oh my goodness, if they're not letting me in, how am I going to help them? Right? One of the best things that you can do for children who are in that space is something really simple. Spend time with them doing something. Okay, and guys are actually probably better at this than women, right? But for women, it might look like going for a walk together. And you, as the parent, just be with the kid, right? Just be there. Don't put your projections in there. Don't talk even. Allow them to lead. And they will naturally open up because especially if you're walking side by side, it's not confrontational. You're not looking at them directly. It's easier for them to open up. That's why, people often talk about, the best time is when they're driving their kids to school because they're not sitting across from each other at the kitchen table, or going for a walk, allowing your children to be held by you. Be aware of that when you're walking with them. See light going underneath their feet, seeing light going around their body, seeing light, allow them to feel your energy. Make sure you're in the energy of compassion, of openness, of I'm here for you. Even saying that in your mind can be really helpful. I'm here for you, kiddo. Talk to their soul. I want to make the connection with you. I'm not judging you. I just want to support you. I want to be here. You can say all of that in your mind. Your child will feel it in your body and in their body, right? Which creates a deeper sense of safety and trust. At all costs, we want to stay away from panic, alarm, because again, what's going to happen? Your child's going to pick that up and they're going to go into defensiveness. They're going to go into that resistance and go, oh my God, I can feel that energy in you, that kind of panic energy, and it makes them panic. Emotions are contagious. So there is always a way. And 9 times out of 10, folks, I've seen so many miracles happen for people when they just take time to be present. Right? When you can truly learn what it is to put your fear, your worry, your doubt, your panic to the side, stay calm and be present and be willing to receive your child no matter what it is that they say, then you can create miracles. If that child knows that they're loved no matter what, no matter if they've made a mistake, if they've stuffed up, if they've gone into, an area or a circumstance which is not safe or it's dangerous for them or other people, right? Super powerful in terms of going, I love you unconditionally and I am aware of my own stuff, so therefore I'm not projecting it onto you. Right, that's the key as a parent. You want to be a good parent, get to know yourself very well. Know your shadow. Know when you get triggered. Know what upsets you, right? Know what is looking to be healed still. It's one of the best gifts you can do as a parent. Okay, so we'll just recap what we've covered today, folks, because there's been quite a lot. Depending on the age of the child too, and again, how relevant this is going to be for them. You might not get so far doing a rainbow technique with a teenager, but you never know. And again, colour is frequency, so we started talking about filling up a child's chakras with all the colours of the rainbow. It can be fun, easy, playful for them to get what it is that they needed, so their energy centres are open. We talked about the tool of swallowing the sun, which helps them in terms of expanding their personal power, helping them to radiate light. Get children to do this. You can literally see their back lean back and their bellies open up, and they can use their imagination to support themselves. Reading to children is really important, right, to activate their imagination. Your imagination is the gateway to your intuition, so allowing yourself to be in that space. Celebrating their imaginary friends, asking them questions, including them, seeing what qualities that their imaginary friend has. If their imaginary friend has qualities that aren't kind or loving, where is that child being exposed to that energy? Again, it's all about environment when it comes to children. What environment are they in? Don't make yourself wrong. Don't make yourself guilty. Don't beat yourself up. But be aware and take action. That's the best thing you can do for your children, right? Nobody wants a parent that feels guilty. It makes the kid feel guilty too, right? So don't allow yourself to go into I'm a terrible parent or I'm doing this all wrong. You're doing the best you can with the information and awareness that you have. Start applying some energy tools and opening the energy up. You'll be surprised. Okay, we talked about teaching your children to manifest early. Get them in that space of I can do this, so when they come up against other challenges in life, as life inevitably does, they will be in that mindset of already looking for the solution rather than being stuck in the problem or stuck in fear. So get them into that space of you want a new bike? How are we going to create that? How can I support you in terms of your creation? Make it easy, right, and fun for them to be able to go out and create what they want. Get started early. The earlier you can do this, the easier it's going to be for them when they're an adult to go, yep, this is what I want to do, and have the courage and confidence to go for it. Okay, we talked about living heart-centered life and how gratitude is so important in terms of, being grateful for just being alive, right? Being grateful for the food in front of you, being grateful for having things that other kids maybe don't have, right? Being grateful for, there's a whole bunch of things to be grateful for, depending on where you are and what country you live in. Sometimes we have to be grateful that, our children aren't being married at the age of 10. Okay, so there's a lot to be grateful for, and helping us to live in those energies of gratitude. Asking your children what they're grateful for about their day, asking them what was great, asking them perhaps when they're a little bit older, what they've failed at, so that they get really good at stepping outside of their comfort zone and making it okay, normalizing failure, so they can be in that space of they can develop that muscle and cultivate it, so they're actually going, you know what, I'm going to try that and see what happens, rather than holding themselves back because they're I'm afraid I'm going to get it wrong. That's a huge thing to develop in a child. If they can have that mindset of I'm just going to step outside of my comfort zone because I can, because it's okay to fail, because it's okay to, to do that. If you can cultivate that with your children, they'll become limitless, right, in terms of what they can do and what they can create for themselves. So we've covered quite a few different things then, right? Remembering, of course, that, excuse me, if your children are being bullied, excuse me, if your children are being bullied, that they can always take their power back by sending blessings to the other person, by not picking up the energy, not picking up the other person's sadness, contraction, pain or suffering, learning how to teach your children to do that, by knowing that they always have a choice, that they can see that the other person's hurting, so that person actually needs blessings. It doesn't mean that we need to fix or heal or solve the problem for them. It just means that we have a choice in regards to how we respond. Knowing, namely, folks, that your children, yes, they are a product of your environment. The best thing you can do for your children is overcome your own shadow and love your own shadow. So therefore you can make it okay for your children to love their own shadow inside of them as well. We want to learn what it is to be all-encompassing and inclusive. And I'm sure if you have children, they are your brightest stars. They are probably your biggest challenge in a lot of ways, but I can guarantee you on a soul level they have come because they're here to help you grow, and they're also there for it's mutual, right? You're going to help them, they're going to help you, and you're all going to grow. So I hope you've enjoyed this today, folks, in regards to energy tools. If you want to learn more or join the Facebook group, you can go to Intuitive Life Academy and find the group and come join us. Amazing community of people who just really want to live from their intuition and develop their abilities to be supernatural. So until next week, folks, many, many blessings to you all. I hope you're having a lovely day. Take good care of yourselves and lots of love. Bye for now. Bye.